All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of From the Chair with your host, Pat Holt, and his co host, Nathan Noss. And we'll be back in just a minute to start the show.
That's better.
All right, Pat, are you ready for your first lead show? You're ready in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Hold on, it ain't his show, it's ours.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Welcome, everybody. And I want to say welcome to our guest tonight, Ronnie Angel. How are you tonight?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys.
No problem. And just to let you know, at some point during this, we'll have some mystery questions, so that'll pop up in the chat. But no mystery music
good.
to go with them. So,
all right, I hope I'm ready for them.
Well, they are all the brainchild of my executive producer, so I hope we're all ready for them.
Yes, it is a mystery to all of us.
Yes.
Okay.
To be honest, I only write what the host tells me to write. So.
Aha. Well, I guess that it'll be a surprise to some of us then, right?
Okay, our first question is, who were your wrestling heroes growing up?
Ooh. My favorite wrestlers when I was growing up, I don't know why, but I always kind of gravitated towards like Martel and Hennig and Rude, and especially like when Ric Flair and HBK were in the WWF at the time, like around 92, 93 is when I really got into it. So yeah, I mean I looked at those guys and I'm like, wow, if they could piss off that many people, that looks like it'd be a lot of fun.
Can you tell us about how your name came to be?
Yes. That's a bit of a story there. I know that well, the first part of the story is that my dad would always tell me stories of growing up in Spokane, and it was in the 60s, 50s, and 60s, and I guess that they had a bully back then. He was a greaser, and from what everybody told me is that he's just really mean guy. Like he would just punch people for no reason. Like he's having a bad day. And I found out that they gave him a nickname, which is Ronnie Angel, kind of like the song. So
Mhm.
I remember my dad would tell me these stories about this guy, and to be honest, I didn't really believe him until years later. I was talking with one of his high school friends, and he was asking them like, "Oh, do you know whatever happened to Ronnie Angel?" And I'm just like, "Wait a minute, I'm listening." Like, so very interesting. But when I first started wrestling, I was gonna do I had hair down to like here, so I was gonna do like some kind of a vampire gimmick and basically a rip off of Gangrel. But
Mhm.
I don't know what happened. Just one time I decided after high school, to like cut my hair and take all my piercings out, and my trainer was pissed at me, and he was telling me like, "Oh, great job. You killed your gimmick before you even started." But then he kind of calmed down like a day or so later, and he was like, "Actually, no, you look like one of those old greasers from the 50s. I think that we could use this." So then I just got that name, Ronnie Angel. And it just kind of went from there.
Very cool story.
Thanks.
Very cool.
Can you tell us some of about your biggest rivals?
My biggest rivals?
Yeah.
Ooh, there is a guy up in BC, and actually Chris Jericho writes about him in his first book. And is a guy that he trained with, and he refers to him as Como in the book. And he's wrestled as a Black Dragon for, oh God, well over 30 years. But I did a really long feud with him, and we went back and forth so much in so many different towns up in British Columbia, and we swapped the title back and forth. So I think that him he also became a bit of a mentor to me too. So I just thought it was cool that I was actually looked at as on his level. So yeah, that was probably one of my biggest rivals. Um, there's another guy. He is a luchador who moved up to Seattle, and he used to wrestle around there. And his name is Astro Imperial. And same thing with him. Like, it was a couple years in, and he kind of took me under his wing. And I still have people to this day tell me that, yeah, when I started wrestling with Astro all over the place, that I greatly improved over the couple of years that I was feeding with them. So those are probably my two favorite rivals. Um, there's also a guy who was up in Seattle, and his name was Aaron Bolo, and he had well, his gimmick was like Bolo from Bloodsport, and I feuded with him quite a bit when I first started, and I always loved my matches with him. Although a lot of the times we would just beat the crap out of each other, like for real. So like we would be backstage after the match, like half dead because we just beat the crap out of each other. But we had some great matches too. So I think those are probably my three favorite rivals. Um, well, there's another one too. His name was Slave. He was up in BC as well, and he was one of the first guys that gave me a real opportunity up there in British Columbia. So I got to feud with him quite a bit, and we had some crazy matches over the years. So yeah, those are probably my favorite rivals.
How much training did you do weekly, and how many shows do you do a week?
Well, back in the day when I first started training, it took me about maybe a year before I actually had my first match. And my training was a bit different from a lot of people, and that's mainly due to my trainer. Um, when we first started, he made us train and bump on pallets. And
Oh,
as he said, "Oh, I'm gonna toughen you up." So it was several months before we even saw the inside of a ring. And we used to drive down to Portland. It's about a 5-hour drive, roughly. So just to get ring time in. And we would actually go and we would sleep in the building where the ring was. And I remember just like sleeping under the ring because it's a little bit quieter. And then just first thing in the morning, getting up and getting some more training in. So that was way back then. Right now, I try to get training whenever I can, and I wouldn't say that I wrestle like on a weekly basis or anything. It's more like a monthly basis now, and I think that probably has a lot to do with other things happening in my life. Like the books and acting, and I don't know. Also, when you reach a certain age after wrestling for so long, I feel like Danny Glover in Lethal Weapon. I'm just like I'm too old for this, but I stick with it as much as I can.
Well, I think that's a good point to start with a mystery question.
Cool.
So, Mr. Host, you were doing your research then. You said he did 2 books, but he was in his mom's house with his 3rd book. Would you like to ask that question?
yeah. I noticed that the horror podcast that you did a couple of years ago, you mentioned that you were working on like a 3rd book in your mom's house, and she scared the crap out of you because you got
Yes.
really into it.
Yes.
Um, can you tell us about that book and if it's been out and what the title might have been?
Yes. Let me just move some stuff here. There we go. Yeah, this is it right here. It's called Death in the Family, and it is Death in the Family, Life in the Business of Death. And this is about growing up in the funeral business. And it's mainly like a lot of my dad's stories that he would tell us when we were growing up. And it's also got stories from myself and my brothers and my mom about growing up in the funeral business. And there's some really wild stuff, honestly. And I mean, I remember I wrote about in here that, you know, my dad would have to say, deliver a body to Phoenix or something. And he would get us all together and be like, hey, guess what, kids? We're going on vacation to Phoenix. So we would ride down with a body in a casket next to us. Yeah, it was so normal for us though. Like just yeah, I've been around the funeral business my entire life. So I figured that would be something that a lot of people would think would be interesting. It's different, and I just know that from growing up, my dad has some crazy stories. So I wanted to, share those with the world.
Very cool.
And now hearing that, it makes sense why your mom scared you making that book. Like if you got into telling those stories and somebody knocked on the door, I think anybody in this room would have jumped.
It's funny. That I wasn't writing the book at the moment that happened. I was actually working on a screenplay because I would look around my parents' house and I would see different things, right? Like different areas, and I would come up with the story in my head, and like it was terrifying. Like I can't even go to their house now without thinking about that. And it came from my own imagination. So I but I remember, yeah, that my mom, I was really into it. Is late at night. There's only a lamp on in the room, and I just got so lost in it, coming up with scary scenes that when she knocked on the door, I almost had a heart attack. And that's not the first time that's happened either. Yeah, I get into it, so I'm spooked pretty easily, and I know that my mom does that stuff on purpose anytime I visit them. Like I had her watch a movie and I told her, yeah, this is like legit one of the scariest movies you'll ever see. And it's called Grave Encounters. And we watched it, and my mom she's just kind of like, it's okay. And I was like, God, what are you talking about? That's like one of the scariest movies out there. So later on, I came out of the bathroom and I walked in the living room and I look and my mom's not there. I'm just like, huh, that's weird. I wonder where she could have gone. And then she just jumps out and scares the crap out of me. Yeah, that happens in my parents' house on a regular basis anytime I visit them. You'd think I would learn, but she's pretty good at it.
Well, I can honestly tell you, I live in a nursing home and stuff like that still happens around here to me. So I don't think it's
Oh,
just
yeah?
your mom's house that happens to me at, or that happens at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny with all the horror stuff that I do, that I can get spooked like that.
So in doing some of that research that Tony was talking to you about, I noticed you teamed with a guy named the Karate Kid when you were the tag team champions, and then you made your comeback. Can you tell us
Yes.
how that team got formed?
Yes, that was one of the guys that I trained with originally, and me and him would wrestle all over the place as much as we could. And he wanted to start his own promotion in Washington a few years in. So we all came together and we ran our own promotion in Washington for about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 years. 4 years we were running and doing shows on a monthly basis and across the state, and we were doing pretty good. And I remember he had a gimmick at the time. It was pretty nondescript. It was just Scorpio Nightmare, and there really wasn't a gimmick except for just being kind of a high flying quick guy. And I remember I would always tease him about that he looks like Ralph Macchio from the Karate Kid. So yeah, yeah. So I gave him my old karate gi from when I was in high school, and it fit him, which is cool. I mean, I was like, wow, I guess I was a lot smaller back then, but it fit him. And then his career kind of blew up after that because he went 100% into that character, and I got him up with me in Canada, and we just started getting more and more notice. We were called the AAA, the All American Ass Kickers, and we had a lot of fun on the road, like too much fun actually. But yeah, to this day, I could say that Danny is still not just a tag partner, but legitimately my best friend. So I know maybe we were the only people that could stand each other on the road. I don't know. But we had a lot of fun for sure, and I really miss those road trips when we would just be on the road for like a week straight, doing different cities up there. And I go and visit him every year. So yeah, but that's how the Karate Kid gimmick got started. And yeah, we did really well as a tag team. People hated us so much, but it kind of turned a corner because they started to like us because I go back and watch some of those matches. I'm like, wow, we were actually pretty funny and pretty entertaining. So yeah, our we had a good run up there for sure.
So we got a viewer, and
Hang on. Let me do this.
okay.
Welcome to our new owner of the podcast, Big Money Dodge.
Aha, I know that guy.
Okay, so since you know this guy, I have to do this. He can't be the new owner if he paid me in Monopoly money. Seriously, we've had this talk, Big Money. Come on now.
And I keep saying
You gotta give me
I
real
have
cash here. I can't. I know I live in a nursing home, but I can't pay this out in Monopoly money now.
Okay, Mr. Host, you need to pipe it down and actually keep it real and get back to the next question, please. Or Big Money Dodge will have your ass and he will fire you.
What
Yeah, he could try.
if any, did anyone give you? And do you still use that advice today?
What was that? Sorry.
What advice did anybody give you? And do you still use that advice to today?
Oh God, I got so much advice back in the day, so much good stuff. I think one of the best ones that's always stuck with me, and it's a different one. We, I should say, traveled about 6 hours to do a show one time, and when I got there, they're like, "Oh yeah, you're in the battle royal tonight," and I was like, "Wait, that's it? Am I winning the battle royal?" No, you're not gonna win it. Okay. Can I get something else to do tonight? Like, can I have like an actual match? No, we're all full. Okay, I just drove 6 hours to be here. Can I like be somebody's manager? Nope. Can I do a run-in? Nope. So I was like, I went out there and it was like a Halloween thing. Like it was a dress up as your favorite wrestler battle royal. And so everybody was dressed up, like some of them were like the Ultimate Warrior, Undertaker, blah, blah, blah. And I came out there dressed like myself, like I usually do. And it was funny because they stopped me and they're like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be dressed like your favorite wrestler. And I was like, I am dressed as my favorite wrestler. Me. So that got it was good because I had a really small role, but I made it memorable. And I made it so I was one of the most memorable people that night. I went over to the bar, I ordered myself a drink. I got in the ring, spit it in some guy's face. Yeah, and that was one of the things that I remember is that was some of the best advice I got is no matter what, take it and make the most out of it. So that's what I did. Like, and some other advice that I got that very night was I was really pissed off about it. So I was like, screw this thing. I'm gonna go over to the bar, have a drink, and I was pretty much like, yeah, I'm done with this career. But then one of the old time guys, he joined me over there, and he was saying that think about this for a second. Would you be here right now in this town, 6 hours from home, hanging out with me right now and having a drink? would you have been able to do any of this? Would you have gotten into acting if it wasn't for wrestling? And I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, you've got a really good point. So that took me from the edge and kind of motivated me a little bit more and brought me back in there. So um, that was really great, that talk that I had with him, because I was ready to quit over that whole thing. But yeah, he was saying same thing, like you took something small and you made it your own. You made it work, and you were one of the most entertaining guys out there tonight. So I was, that really made me think, and it pulled me back. So that was probably the biggest one for me. But there's lots of advice I've gotten over the years, and all of it is very good. All of it is things that I stick with to this day. And yeah, like my initial trainer, Damian Michaels, rest in peace. He always had so much good advice. It's too bad that he's not with us anymore.
Well, that kind of leads into the next question: is what was the best advice your trainer gave you?
Basically that you're not gonna win everybody over, and there's a lot of haters out there, and this is true, especially in the wrestling business. You're not gonna win everybody over, and from what he was saying is that you might not be everybody's cup of tea, but you might be just the tea that somebody else is looking for, and that's some really good stuff to remember. So if you're ever down about something, you can just remember that. Like, yeah, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm some people's perfect blend, what they're looking for, and that goes for Hollywood too, for acting, especially so in acting. Because, like, yeah, you might not fit everything that you try out for, but there are those things that they will really, really want you for, because you're exactly what they're looking for. So yeah, he had some really great advice back in the day.
Very cool.
Can you tell us about? Go ahead.
We have a question from the audience. He wanted to know who your favorite indie manager is. Cough, cough.
Oh boy. I wonder who said that. Well, I mean, right now, I have Triple M, Mike Martinez, sorry, Steve. And it's funny because he has gotten it from day one. Just like being an over-the-top character, and being somebody that really riles people up, and somebody that a lot of people just hate, and that's a special talent right there. And it's funny. Sometimes I might have to reel him back a little bit, because, like, okay, it might be like bordering on too far. But yeah, he's been a great manager. And of course, Big Steve, although I wasn't on your team. It is funny too, because if you guys know of a wrestler named Drexel,
Yes.
Yeah,
you probably
we do.
see him all over the indie circuit. And he was my manager for a while when I was a few years into the business. And I mean, we would get insane amounts of heat. And I just knew back then, even when he was first starting, that, man, he's got a gift for pissing people off. which is something to be proud of.
Yes, it is. And we actually had Triple M on our show here a couple weeks back. And
Yeah.
to rebuttal that, we're going to have Big Money Dodge here in a couple of weeks in May.
Very cool.
So
I actually
Yeah,
saw Mike last night.
yeah.
Very cool.
Although your answer really didn't make our viewer happy. So
Hey, man,
Okay.
if you would have offered me more money to be on your side.
now you're
Love you,
feeding into the
Steve.
host seat. Well, great. Okay, next question.
Can you tell us about some of the movies that you were involved in?
Sorry, you guys are breaking up there. I didn't hear that one.
Can you tell us some of the movies you were involved in? Oh, go ahead one more time, guys.
Can you tell us about some of the movies that you've been involved in?
Wow, it's hard to hear you guys. I don't know why. I think you're moving now. Okay. What was it again?
Can you tell us about some of the movies that you've been involved in?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
Come on.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're having technical difficulties. Ronnie will be right back.
Yes, he will.
And he's back.
That was weird. I don't know what happened.
That was really weird. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's try this again. They wanted to know
Yes.
what some of the movies you were involved in.
Maybe I need to move around a little bit.
Uh-oh.
See.
Nathan, you try. Can he hear you?
They want to know what
Can you hear me
movies you
okay?
were involved in. Yeah.
Okay. Let's try
Let's
this.
try it one
Maybe
more
out
time.
here might be good. Yes. I heard that.
So they want to know what movies you've been involved in.
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay.
Here,
I believe you said
Can you tell us about
you're
some of the
asking
movies
something
you've
about
been
what
involved
movies
in?
I've been in?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. See, maybe I could go out here. God, sorry guys.
No, you're good.
I don't know why it's being a pain. Usually I get really good service here. Maybe if I'm closer to the router here. Okay. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah. It just sounds like you guys are in a.
The wind tunnel
we
again,
lost
right? Yeah. Oh, we lost him again. Well, I think there's a conspiracy between Nathan and Triple M.
Why would I have a conspiracy against Triple M and this guy? It's one of Triple M's clients.
Because you're trying to make this fail for Big Money Dodge. So I think there's a conspiracy.
I agree with that.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Let's see.
Here, let me see if I can do this.
I can see one of you.
Okay.
Crap. About that, guys.
It's all right. Now you're back. Can you hear us?
Yeah, you still sound kind of scrambled, but I can hear you a little bit.
So the question was, there you go.
What movies have you been in? Oh, okay. Okay. Let me just walk with you here. Maybe I'll go sit in my car. But I will have an answer for you. So give me just a second, guys.
No problem.
Let's see. Stupid technology.
I think we lost him again.
I do agree, Tony. There's a big conspiracy between Nathan and Triple M.
Wait a minute. Why is it with me? If he turned Big Money down, how do we know Big Money's not messing with the feed because he's spiteful because he turned him down?
Okay.
Let's try that.
Yes. I'm
All
in
right.
my car right now, so I'm hoping this works. Okay. So your question was, what movies I've been involved with?
Yes.
I've been in a lot since I moved down here to LA, and it's mainly horror movies, like a lot of independent horror movies. And I've been on quite a few things. Like I was on The Verdict with Judge Hatchett, and I thought that those cases were real, but they're not. They gave me a script and everything. Yeah, I was in like Zombie 8 and Rattlers 2 and a bunch of movies for the director Dustin Ferguson, and worked with directors like James Balsamo and a bunch of guys here in LA. So it's interesting that the Hollywood independent horror scene is actually very small. Like everybody kind of knows everybody, which is really cool. And I'm just thankful to have that opportunity to even be down here and doing something that people have been telling me I should be doing for, the last 20 years.
Very cool. Before our next question, I want to talk about our first sponsor, which is the CARE program, which stands for Community Action Reaching Everybody. And to get in touch with the lady that's in charge of that, you can look her up, and her name's Becky Bernhardt on Facebook. So our next question is, can you tell us how your finisher came to be?
How my finisher came to be?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The first ones that I used, one of them was a kind of a flatliner, like what Canyon used to use, and I would also do the running power slam, and I did both those for years. And then, of course, the shake, rattle, and roll, which I picked up from Honky Tonk Man, which is fitting. And I have another move called Dead Man's Curve. And yeah, it's a move that both me and my tag partner, Danny, would use. And it's almost like a reverse pedigree. And it's basically, though, so rather than you're facing each other, you're both in the same direction looking out. So I'm basically sitting on their shoulders, and they're like this, and then I jump forward, and they basically face plant on the canvas and then all I have to do is roll over and grab their leg, pull it back, and there's a pin right there. It's an automatic pin. So yeah, it's a very cool move. I just don't get to use it as much as I would like to. A lot of times I'm against like, bigger guys, so it's hard to like push them down. Yeah, but that was just a really cool move that we would come up with. So that's probably my favorite. I just wish I was able to use it more.
Sounds pretty nasty.
It is, yeah. I did one show, and I had somebody came up to me and they're like, "Oh my God, it looked like you broke his neck," and then he's just like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So I was like, "See, he's still alive." I actually did some training with JTG a while back from Crime Time, and I showed him my finisher, and he was just like, "Damn, hope I don't have to take that one day." It looks more dangerous than what it really is.
Yeah, but those are the best ones, because then, it really sells on the TV or in front of the crowd.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, Pat, before you ask your questions, I'm gonna do a double here. So,
Okay.
we want to know what's your favorite match in Orange County, and then a follow up to that is who is your toughest match that you had in Orange County?
Oh, okay. Favorite matches in Orange County, I would say some of the cage matches were my favorites. And working a guy named Gusten Uberstud, that was fun. We worked in the cage there. And then Legend Daryl, we had another good match in the cage. I don't know. I really like the cage matches. I've done a bunch of them up in Canada too, and I don't know. Those are probably my favorites. I've had a lot since I started back up again in 2021, April of 2021. Yeah. So I'd say those are my favorites right there. Also, working a guy named Baptiste. We had some good matches, definitely. And yeah, those are probably my favorite from Orange County.
I saw the one that you were talking about with, I'm gonna butcher his name. You just said it, Gustav or
Gusten.
Yeah, the cage match that you had with him. I watched that this morning and was captivated by the way you guys did that cage match. It was awesome.
Yeah, because we kind of talked about it, and we're like, you know what? Everybody on this show is going to use the cage as a weapon. So why not do something different and tease it, but not actually use it for the majority? So it was good, and I really liked that we had more character work than your average match. Like we used our gimmicks to the full potential, and like 90% of that match was just playing with the crowd basically and having fun, which is how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts was when each one of you was climbing the cage and the other one was just watching and then would pull the other one down. It wasn't like you would have to like run up and catch him because you were just standing there watching him climb and then pulling him back down. It was great.
Yeah. I'm glad that you enjoyed that part because we were just, it was just silly. And it's just like, yeah, okay, sure. I'll let you get a few more. Screw this. And then, of course, I think that my favorite part was the part where we're on the top rope, if you remember that, where we were
Yep.
punching each other back and forth. Yeah. that came about pretty naturally.
My favorite.
Go ahead.
My favorite snack is cookies. What is your favorite cookie or snack, and what would it be?
My favorite snack. Oh man, that's a tough one. Why do you have to ask such a hard question? God, because it changes from day to day, you know. I do like the little Debbie oatmeal cookies, though.
Ooh.
They're dangerous, though. Like, you know, I could find myself, you know, sleepwalking at 3 a.m. to go grab a few of those out of the case.
So, who was the last person to give you advice on your wrestling skills, and do you still use that advice today?
Yes. It's funny because it's a lot of like peer critique and advice from your peers, you know. So it's a lot of them. It's things where they're like, "Hey, what was that you used out there? That was really cool. You should use that again." So yeah, like I do one that I pull out on occasion, and it's basically a
slingshot into a, like, I'm standing, I have them up like this, and like their feet are underneath here, and all I do is fall backwards, and they flip, they face plant. So all I have to do is roll up over the top of them backwards, and I have their legs, so I turn the slingshot into a Boston Crab. So every now and then I'll just I'll pull out something like that.
Very cool.
So that's some good advice, you know, when people see something like that and they're like, "Wow, that was awesome. You should do that more." So I'm like, "Oh, okay." Yeah, but literally every time that you're in the ring, you're finding out something. You're learning every single time.
How would you describe your wrestling style?
Sorry, what was that?
How do you describe your wrestling style?
My wrestling style. You know, that is a really good question, actually, because I would say it's kind of like a hybrid. Like I do quite a bit of things. Let me see. I don't know why I lost you on the audio. For some reason, it wants to play Linkin Park right now. Good timing. But yeah, my wrestling style is kind of a hybrid. Like I've never been like a high flyer or anything like that, but a lot of brawling, and I mix in a lot of technical stuff too. Hold on. Okay.
sorry. God, I have so many problems today.
No, you're good.
Yeah. So, and I got the audio back, thankfully. So, that's kind of my wrestling style. a lot of like I would say rule out high flying and rule out hardcore, because I'm not really a hardcore type of a guy.
Got it.
That's cool.
So, Big Money Dodge wants us to ask you if you remember him helping you win against Legend. Or him helping you win, I mean.
Of course I do. I mean, I already had that match won, and he just decided to give me a book. He's like, hey, I think Daryl would like to read this. So I was like, all right, well, yeah, I'll show it to him. And he liked it so much, he ran face first into it and accidentally knocked himself out. So, yeah, I was like, well, you know, that was a nice suggestion of giving him the book. But, yeah, it just turned out terribly wrong.
Okay. And so before you ask your next one, Nathan, because Nathan's done your research and everything, he knew you lived in Montana, so he wanted me to ask you this question. When you lived in Montana, did you ever meet Hannah Montana?
Did we lose him?
Did we lose? Hello?
Can you hear us? I think we lost him. Or he
I think we
froze.
lost him.
No, I'm here.
No,
Oh,
he's
okay.
here. There he is. There he is. There he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah. No Hannah Montana, sadly.
And by the way, that wasn't my question.
Those are Mr. questions. You know, they're funny. They're comical.
Yep. So
Go ahead, Nathan.
have you wrestled anybody that's wrestled in the WWE?
You said anybody that wrestled from WWE?
Yeah.
Okay. One big one. When I was first starting, and this is a really funny one. One of my first matches was against Shark Boy and Shark Girl, and I don't know if you know this, but Shark Girl was Daphne.
Oh.
The late Daphne.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just, a lot of that still stands out to me. I remember, you know, I had him in a headlock, and he just kind of looked up at me. He's like, lighten up. I was like, sorry. And when Daphne went to bite me at the end, she really did bite me. So, yeah. And, you know, at the end of the match, you know, it's about ready to slam Shark Boy, and then she gave me a low blow when the ref wasn't looking. And normally that'd be something that people would, you know, boo. But since it was them and I'm me, they were actually pretty happy to see that. And the funny thing about it, though, is that the special guest referee was Ivory, if you remember her.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the thing that I will never forget is Shark Boy gave me a bulldog, and I left my feet, I spiked myself into the mat like this, and I was just laying there. I didn't break my neck like people thought, but it looked like I did. But Ivory just knelt down next to me, and she just said, "Oh, that's gotta hurt." So, yeah, that I fought Norman Smiley before.
Ooh.
That was pretty funny because I remember he shot me off the ropes, and he grabbed my ass. And so I turn around. I'm like, what? I'm going nuts. You know, this guy just grabbed my ass. So we wrestle around again, and we go back to the ropes, and he's like, I'm gonna grab your ass again. Wait, what? And then he did it again. So when we went into it a third time, and the roles were reversed this time, so I was throwing him off the ropes, and I said, no, he said to me, all right, now grab my ass. So I was like, all right, fine. So I whipped him off the ropes, and I went like this, you know, made it very noticeable, and I went to grab his ass, but when I did, he turned around and like shoved his crotch like right towards my hand. And so I stopped and I like rolled out of the ring. I'm like, God, I was going crazy about it. So yeah, that was a good one. I teamed with Disco Inferno a few times, so that was really cool. Yeah, as far as like the big ones that I've personally worked, that's about it. Well, no, I have worked against like the Singh brothers before they went to WWE several times. I worked with who else? I'm trying to think, because I was on shows with like Danielson and Becky Lynch when she was Rebecca Knox. I've worked with a lot of the people who went on to it. I worked with a lot of people who went on to WWE, so that was really cool, and just see those guys like how far that they've gotten. That's really cool to see. Or even like El Phasmo, ELP. Like I've worked him before a few times. So yeah, a lot of those guys have gone on the big things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So who's got the next one? Or here, let me ask. What's your scariest injury you've had?
Scariest injury that I've had. Ooh. I gotta admit that when I first started, I was a little bit more into like I remember doing a lot of different moves that I don't use anymore. Lot more high flying stuff, you know, like frog splash, things like that. But I had a match where I kicked the guy, ran across the ropes, and then was supposed to flip over his back and then kick him on the other side. But my feet didn't go with me, so I just went straight down, and I like felt and heard several cracks.
Ooh.
And I was literally laying there, and I couldn't even hear the crowd at this point. I was just like, okay, my fingers work, my arms still work. Okay, I'm not paralyzed, so that's good. So I was like, but I really messed up my neck bad. So, but it's better now. That was years ago when I first started, like 05, 06. But tearing my ACL, that was a big one, because I tore it and I was okay. I was still able to get around, but I had an accident driving in the snow, and I tore my MCL. So they said I tore my ACL, my MCL, and I shredded my meniscus. They literally said shredded. So that was a big injury, and that one sidelined me for years. Like I just stopped wrestling for years by that point. That was 2014, 2016, and then I didn't come back until 2017, and then I worked like the fall of 2017, but then I wasn't wrestling through 18, 19, 20. Like 3 or 4 years until I stepped in the ring again. So, and then I've had a lot of injuries over the years. So like I had a dislocated jaw. I had a broken finger that still hasn't fully healed 10 years later. I broke my big toe in a battle royal because we were supposed to hang on, but the ropes were too loose. So I snapped my big toe. The whole thing black. And I literally had to have the guys in the locker room take off my boot and wrap it and then put my boot back on because I had to go and wrestle a 20-minute match after that. So, yeah. One of the ones that really got me was we're having a hardcore match. And like I said, I'm not a fan of hardcore matches. But the guy, one of the spots I like to do is have somebody put me in a garbage can. And then me get up with the garbage can on my head. And then at that point, they could hit me with a chair, whatever. They could throw me into the post. And the guy did that. He all I could see was my feet. So he was like, post, bam, hit the post. Turns me around, post, bam, hit the post. And then he said wall. And I can't see anything. So I'm like, I don't even know where I'm at. I don't know where I am in the room. So he threw me and I tensed up. This is a 1 in a million thing. The garbage can flew off of me. It hit the wall and it bounced back and it hit me right in the face. And it hit me hard. Like, I'm pretty sure I got a concussion from that one too. But I laid down in the front row and I'm like almost on people. And I go like this. Well, at first I was like, oh yeah, I probably have a black eye. But then I went like this and I looked, I'm like, oh no, I'm bleeding. Huh. So it's funny because there was another name on that very show. And one of my favorite big name people, actually, Gangrel. Very cool guy. Loved traveling with that guy. But yeah, I came backstage and he looked at me and he just kind of went like this. And I was like, oh God, is it bad? And he was like, yeah. I was like, do you think I'll need stitches? And he was like, yeah, I think so. It's like, God, no. So my valet, she took me to the hospital to get stitched up, and it was I'm sure that everybody in that hospital heard me that night because I got like cut from like here to my eyelid, basically. Like it's a miracle I didn't lose an eye, but yeah, they'd like stick the needles in there and everything, and I remember I just kind of yelled at her. I was just like, hold my hand. But we still went out drinking afterwards.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of injuries over the years.
So we have another viewer that popped on. He said, how's it going?
Yeah? Who is it?
His name's William Reed.
Who?
His name is William Reed.
God, this thing is breaking up again. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
His name is William Reed.
Okay, say it again.
William Reed.
William Reed.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
He just says, how's
William
it going?
Reed. I'm sorry, it's kind of breaking up.
To
But regardless, hi. Good to see you.
To our executive producer, our host, and me, he is known to us as Bubba.
Yep. So,
All right.
I'm sorry, guys. I didn't hear a
He didn't
word
hear that.
that you're saying.
that's fine. Can you hear us now?
Okay. Can you guys hear
Can you
me?
hear?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear us?
Yep.
Oh, we lost.
Okay. Can you guys
There.
hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, we can
Yep.
hear you.
Okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. So, Pat, I
So,
think
sorry.
you have the next. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
We're on number 4. There you go.
Who is your toughest opponent to date and why?
Toughest opponent to date and why? I mentioned him earlier. The Korean guy, Aaron Bolo, because yeah, I mean we would hit each other hard. So I mean those are some of my toughest matches for sure.
If you could wrestle for any of the 4 major promotions, which one would it be and why?
So that would be like WWE,
AEW,
TNA, AEW.
yeah.
I would say I would go for any of them, honestly. But I know that the goal for every wrestler would be WWE, obviously. I would have loved to, but hopefully that boat hasn't sailed.
If you had a dream match, what would it be? Who would be involved? And why? And who would you put over in that match?
If I could have a dream match with anybody, well, I got to meet him like a year or two ago. I got to meet Domino and Cherry, and I'm just like, God, that would have been so cool to just team with you guys. I even tried. I tried, but he's retired. Actually, she's retired too. So I was just like, just one time that would have been so cool. But a dream match, like any time of all time, probably Brett. Definitely Brett. I did a tour with him once years ago, and he's a very quiet guy. But I do remember at one point I was standing backstage watching my partner Danny do a match, and I look over and Brett's just standing next to me. I'm just like, oh crap! And he was just like, hey, is that your boy up there? I was like, yeah, it is. He's my tag partner, best friend. And he's like, oh, cool. Tell him he did a good job. And then he just walks away. So I was like, oh my God, that's like the coolest moment ever. But yeah, I wish I could have worked him at some point.
What is the best match of your career so far, and who was it against?
Oh, now that's a tough one. I would have to say probably my comeback match against Black Dragon and up in BC. That's probably one of my favorite matches ever, and it was a fun ending that we came up with too, because we did this ending where I threw him on a table in the bar, and I go up and I order myself a drink, and before I could take a drink, somebody taps me on the shoulder, and it's him, and I rear back like I'm gonna punch him, and he's like, no, I don't want to fight anymore. I'm done fighting. I want to have a beer with you. I'm just like, really? All right, yeah. So, the two of us get a beer, we cheers, and when I go to drink mine, he smashes his over my head and rolls me back in the ring. Like the entire crowd was like surrounding us. So that was a really cool occasion.
That sounds like an awesome spot.
Yeah, it was fun.
What legacy would you leave on the wrestling industry?
I just hope that someday, people will at least look back on me and say, I really enjoyed his work. I really liked having him around. I have that up in British Columbia. A lot of people still say that to this day. I'll get messages, people asking me when I'm going to come back, telling me that I was one of their favorites. So that's really cool. And that in itself is a great legacy to have. Just to have people remember you, even when you're not there anymore.
So I have a question that's not on the list.
Yeah.
In doing my research, I found you said that you're a special ed teacher.
Yes. I currently work at Granada Hill High School, and it's about 30 minutes north of me. So yeah, I work in the special ed department. Right now I'm a one-on-one. So I have several students, and I'll go to different classes and I'll work with them during the class, like just to kind of help them along when they need it. And a few of them are autistic, and they're great. They are very good at a lot of things, and it's just really cool to see. One of my kids is insanely good at geography. So we play a geography game, and I even talked to him yesterday about it. I'm like, dude, look at the score I got, and it's like 87% European cities. And he's just pats me on the back. He's like, oh, look at you. You'll get up to my level someday. So yeah, it's very rewarding job. But I like it.
So a little side note to that is this podcast was created for that very same reason. Both the host and co-host, I didn't know if you knew this or not, are Special Olympics athletes, and they're both Special Olympics athletes, and they're both intellectual disabilities.
Oh, well, very cool. Very cool. Yeah. I love that. I mean, I do that now, and I also worked with MD, muscular dystrophy. There's a summer camp I used to go to, so I would work there. and also yeah, just a lot of working with special needs. And yeah, it was funny because when I first moved to Cali, I lived in Palm Springs and I worked at a day center there, special needs clients. And I was just telling somebody this other day that it got so hot in Palm Springs, they were like, oh, you can't take them on an outing today because it's like 120 degrees out. So I'm like,
Oh,
okay, yeah. But then a couple days later, they're like, you know what, you could take them out today. It's only 105 today. I'm like, what, really?
Wow. Yeah.
If I can, I could share my favorite story from working there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great because I had a few. There's one kid I had to help. He's in a wheelchair, and helped him in the bathroom and everything. You know, got him sitting on the stall. And this other one who I said that he's like the Tasmanian devil. He was like my he's like a cartoon character come to life. This one, and he came up to me and he would slap me in the shoulder. He's like, "Oi, oi!" I'm like, "All right, what do you want?" And he was like, yeah, like he wanted me to follow him, like he wanted to show me something. I'm like, okay, what is this? I told the other guy, I'm like, hey, I'll be right back. And I look over, like I turn my back, and then when I look back, like this guy, he's just like peeing all over the bathroom, like, and laughing about it. And I just couldn't help it. I just started laughing. I'm like, oh my God. And then the kid that was on the toilet was like, hey, what's so funny? And I told him what was happening. And he started laughing so much that he almost fell off the toilet. So I had to like put my hands up. He was like, he really just did that? I'm like, yeah, he really just did that. So it was hilarious. Like I have so many great stories from my career. So yeah, that's something I really love to do outside of the wrestling and acting and writing.
very cool.
Yeah.
So Big Money has a couple of things on here.
Okay.
One of them is, I want you to know, Ronnie, I love you and respect you in this business and as a friend. And the other one is, where are my cookies? Go ask the GF, Ronnie.
Well, thank you for the nice words, dude. Those really mean a lot to me. Steve is one of my favorite people to talk to outside of the shows around here, and it's sad that he moved back up there, but I understand. Just hey, Steve, you better make it to my book signing in July. That's all I can say. It's going to be in Wenatchee, by the way, Steve.
That's doable.
That is very doable for him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, for us,
Don't
too.
disappoint me, Steve. July
That's true.
15th, Wenatchee.
So if you could book one match as a promoter, who would be the wrestler involved? What would be what would be the match, and who would you put over?
One match that I would be involved with. I got to go back to the Bret Hart thing. If I could have worked him back when he was active, that would have been just so cool. Especially somewhere like in Calgary itself. I wrestled in Calgary a bunch of times, and it was just amazing every time. It's like the mecca of wrestling in Canada. But yeah, I would work with Bret, and I'll take the sharpshooter.
And Big Money Dodge wants you to tell him one more time where that book signing is and when.
It's going to be in Wenatchee. It's going to be at a place called the Time Capsule, which my old tag partner, Davey Nightmare, he actually works there. So, yeah, it's going to be on July 15th, Wenatchee at the Time Capsule.
So, Pat, I think you have the next question.
Yeah. In your personal opinion, can you name your top 5 tag teams from 5 to 1? Who would they be and why?
Are we talking like major tag teams like TV?
Whoever your top 5 tag teams would be in your mind.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's indies or in the professional rank.
Okay. I always loved working with these guys named I can't remember what they were named at first, but they settled on the name Cougar Meat, and it was Colin Cutler and Kyle Sebastian. It's funny because I fought Kyle Sebastian in several different tag teams. That's a guy who really should be on TV nowadays. But anytime I was against Kyle in a tag team, I would be like, wow, I need to up my game. Same with the Singh brothers, or the Sierra brothers, as we knew them, before they went to WWE. They were a very good tag team, and they're fun to work with. And so those two would definitely be up there. Of course, talking about like on the scene, national. I always liked Kendrick and London. They were always really cool, and since I've been down here, I've been on a bunch of shows with Kendrick. He's a cool guy. Of course, going national, like the Heart Foundation, was always one of my favorites. And despite his reputation, I got to go with the British Bulldogs. I was always a fan of theirs. Have very good matches, very innovative. But that's just them as wrestlers, right? I don't condone like a lot of Dynamite's days. Yeah, but those are probably my favorites.
What advice would you give a person who wanted to pursue a career as a professional wrestler?
Well, there's a lot of advice there. I've given people a lot of advice in the past. I say the biggest piece of advice that I could give people, I used to give it to them all the time back when I was up in the Northwest, is don't settle for just an area. Like, I tried to get guys all the time up to Canada from like Portland, and I'd say just get your passport. Just be willing, be able to travel, be willing to just roll with the punches. Just they're gonna throw a lot of different things at you. So the same advice that I got, I was telling you about, when I was about ready to quit, just stick with it and make it your own. Even if you've got a small part, even if you're like first guy thrown out of a battle royal, own it, make them remember you.
Okay, Big Money Dodge has a question about that. Would you ever think about joining Big Money Inc. and leaving that scum Mike Martinez?
It depends on how much money you're gonna give me, Steve.
Mm. And before you guys answer your next question, I want to say one of my favorite tag teams, and that's Mr. Jimmy Mayhem and Boom Shasta, Big Money Inc.
Oh, come on. The only reason you're saying that is to kiss up to Big Money because he's paying you with that Monopoly money that you're getting close to.
I would have to say,
Hey, everybody's got a price.
That's right.
I gotta say they're good wrestlers. I like both of them.
I would have to say mine is a tie between Money Inc. and the Wild Samoans.
Very cool. Love Money Inc.
Okay. Next question.
Could you give us?
Sorry. Just to let you know, I gotta go in just a few minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, go ahead and ask away.
Well, before you do that, I have one question that I wanted to ask since he's got to go.
Yeah.
What was it like teaming with Draven Vargas?
Draven Vargas, do you know Draven?
I do. I was in his training school when he started.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, it was fun, man. Like, that was one of my very first matches ever. And we went out. It's funny because the guys kind of liked me when I was first starting, and I got more opportunities because I was good on the mic. Like, I was very natural on the mic, so a lot of times, like, they don't give new guys the microphone a lot of the time. But they always knew that I could get on there and I could talk to the crowd. I could piss people off. I could talk. So that's what I did. And I really liked teaming with Draven. That was really cool, but it was only brief, sadly.
Mm.
So yeah, but yeah, that takes me way back. That's very cool that you have that connection with him.
In your opinion, who's the better wrestler turned actor?
What was that? Sorry.
Who is the better wrestler turned actor?
Ronnie Angel, of course.
Perfect answer.
Awesome
Perfect
answer.
That's right.
And then Nathan, go ahead and ask your final question about, his favorite wrestling movie.
So what was your favorite wrestling movie as a follow-up to that one?
It's funny. I have a lot of wrestling movies. Some that are very obscure, like Bad Guys from like 1986 or 7, something like that. I also have Grunt, which is interesting because there was a guy down here in LA. I don't know if you know him, Travis McKenna. He was the big clown on Batman Returns. He was one of the main bouncers from Roadhouse.
Oh,
yeah, in a lot of those movies. He's the guy who was responsible for me coming down to LA to try out acting. Because speaking of advice, a lot of good advice there. But yeah, he was in a movie called Grunt, and there's a bunch of like, I think Piper was in it. I can't remember. But I do know that Adrian Street was on it, and he was hilarious. And I know a lot of people look back on that, and they're like, Grunt. Ugh. Even Travis is kind of like, oh, God. But I've always thought it was a funny movie. It's a goofy movie, but it's very funny. So that's got to be probably my favorite.
That's good. So we'll end with one final question, and that's going to be, what was your first title that you've ever won in your career?
First title that I ever won in my career, that was the PWB title. That was in Washington back in 07, I think. 07, 08, somewhere in that period. And that was really cool because I feuded with Astro Imperial over it. And that was also when I got to fight Norman Smiley for it. So that was really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, he wanted to put me over, but I was just like, no, man, you're Norman Smiley. No. he's like, well, what do I do with the belt? So it's like, I would just say that you hate me so much you wanted to take it off of me. And then we could put it on hold it up or whatever. I don't care what you guys do with it. But I was like, no, I can't put you over, man. Or, yeah, the opposite. I don't want to go over on him because I had so much respect for him. I'm like, nah, I can't do that. Sorry, dude. So, yeah, that was my first one that I won. And one of the coolest ones that I got to add before I go is that my trainer, Damian Michaels, he went out to Indiana and had his own promotion out there for years. And he had this stupid little title that he always had with him. And I remember that he flew me out there and he said, yeah, I'm going to drop the belt to you tonight. And I was just blown away. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you never let go of this belt. So yeah, he said it was an honor to drop it to me because I was like his first student. So that was really cool. It meant a lot to me. It's funny because I did the whole he's showing me off to the crowd, telling them about me and everything. And I just start to tell him, you know what, I have so much so much respect for you, and like all that you did for and he's just like, look, he's so emotional, he's crying. I was just like, I'm not crying, I'm laughing, you idiot. I don't have any respect for you. You're a piece of crap. And like, yeah, I took the belt off of him, and obviously the next night he was like, yeah, you can't go back to Washington with this belt. So I was like, yeah, I'll put over whoever your top guy is. So yeah, that's what I did. And I thought that was an honor, though. It was truly an honor that he even, humored that. So that was really cool. I've also held belts up in Canada too, like the tag title. So yeah. But to me, when you have a belt, some people like to do like the too cool for school, like it's just a prop. Well, no, it's not just a prop. It means that this company has that much faith in you that they are gonna put this on you and make you like one of their top people. So that's saying a lot that they would even do that. So to the people that say like, it's just a prop. No, it's not. No, it's not. But there's a lot of that in wrestling. So it is what it is.
Well, that's good. So
yeah.
In closing, from my second favorite manager of all time, yes, I'm sorry, he can't be my first because Big Money Dodge is my favorite manager of all time.
Yeah.
Please help control the pet population. Have your co-host and host spaded or neutered. Peace.
All right. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much.
You.
Anytime.